After the Reformation, the Bible was not made the basis of doctrinal opinions alone. Now in the hands of everyone, it lent its support to many of the popular superstitions of the time, and in addition, it served as the starting point for new superstitions and for new developments of the older ones. The pandemonism of the New Testament, with its wonder workings by devilish agencies, its exorcisms of evil spirits and the like, could not fail to have a deep effect on the popular mind. The authority that the book believed to be divinely inspired necessarily lent to such beliefs gave a vividness to the popular conception of the devil and his angels, which is apparent throughout the whole movement of the Reformation, and not least in the utterances of the great Luther himself. Indeed, with the Reformation there comes a complete change over the popular conception of the devil and diabolical influences. It is true that the judicial pursuit of witches and witchcraft, in the earlier Middle Ages only a sporadic incident, received a great impulse from the bull of Pope Innocent VIII directed against the practice of sorcery. But it was especially amongst the men of the new spirit that the belief in the prevalence of compacts with the devil and the necessity for suppressing them took root and led to the horrible persecutions that distinguished the Reformed churches on the whole, even more than the Catholic. Luther himself had a vivid belief, tinging all his views and actions, in the ubiquity of the devil and his myrmidons.
The devils are near us and do cunningly contrive every moment without ceasing against our life, our salvation and our blessedness. In woods, waters and wastes, and in damp, marshy places, there are many devils that seek to harm men. In the black and thick clouds, too, there are some that make storms, hail, lightning and thunder, that poison the air and the pastures. When such things happen, the philosophers and the physicians ascribe them to the stars, and show I know not what causes for such misfortunes and plagues.
Luther relates numerous instances of personal encounters that he himself had had with the devil. A nobleman invited him, with other learned men from the University of Wittenberg, to take part in a hare hunt. A large, fine hare and a fox crossed the path. The nobleman, mounted on a strong, healthy steed, dashed after them, when suddenly his horse fell dead beneath him, and the fox and the hare flew up in the air and vanished. Again, on another occasion, he was at Eisleben on the occasion of another hare hunt, when the nobleman succeeded in killing 8 hares, which were, on their return home, duly hung up for the next day's meal. On the following morning, horses' heads were found in their place. All disease and all misfortune were the direct work of the devil. God, who was all good, could not produce either. Luther gives a long history of how he was called to a parish priest who complained of the devils having created a disturbance in his house by throwing the pots and pans about and so forth, and of how he advised the priest to exorcise the fiend by invoking his own authority as a pastor of the church. At the Wartburg, Luther complained of having been very much troubled by the satanic arts. When he was at work upon his translation of the Bible, or upon his sermons, or engaged in his devotions, the devil was always making disturbances on the stairs or in the room. One day, after a hard spell of study, he lay down to sleep in his bed one night when the devil began pelting him with hazelnuts, a sack of which had been given to him a few hours before by an attendant. The 2 chief forms in which the devil appeared were, according to Luther, those of a snake and a sheep. He further goes into the question of the population of devils in different countries. On the top of the Pilatus, at Luzern, is a black pond, which is one of the devil's favorite abodes. In Luther's own country there is also a high mountain, the Poltersberg, with a similar pond. When a stone is thrown into this pond, a great tempest arises, which often devastates the whole neighborhood. He also alleges Prussia to be full of evil spirits. Devilish changelings, Luther said, were often placed by Satan in the cradles of human children.
Some maids he often plunges into the water and keeps them with him until they have borne a child. These children are placed in the beds of mortals, and the true children are taken out and hurried away. But such changelings are said not to live more than to the 18th or 19th year. Formerly the Papists, being superstitious people, alleged that persons thus afflicted had not been properly baptized or had been baptized by a drunken priest.
As a practical application of this, it may be mentioned that Luther advised the drowning of a certain child of 12 years old on the ground of its being a devil's changeling.